questions, but I want to mention this, and you don't have to comment on it, but General Fenton, the 18X program, my experience with it is people that we've tried to help get in. The Genesis program has pushed out, and I think the Genesis program would be more appropriately named the Exodus program. Most of the people that we would want in Special Forces are going to have a career in athletics. That means they're going to have an injury somewhere along the way, and yet the Genesis program seeks through every line of their medical history, and if they find any little thing, they force them out. So some way, somehow, we've got to find the balance between getting the right people in the 18X program and getting them around the Genesis program. With that said, the President, and I believe rightfully so, designated the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And he has directed our military force to support securing our southern border. My question gets to your authorities and operations and how they have shifted to address this foreign terrorist threat from the cartels.
I can just start from the general authority.
Sure.
So okay, as a designation of FTO, that does not grant us any new authorities, but it definitely unlocks our ability to work better with our whole of government approach. You think of terms of counter-threat finance and how we can better, more efficiently pass off those target packets, if you will, to law enforcement. But at the end of the day, it helps us across the force reinforce that border security is national security. And we will be ready to defend and provide options to the President if he so chooses. But that's where we stand in terms of authorities. Want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Representative, I'd say double down on border security is national security, and I've mentioned it in my opening statement. You know, our part to defend the homeland, if I look at it through the lens of counterterrorism first, really starts at our border and goes out across the globe. I would offer, I double down that, you know, we've got no new authorities or directions, as the Secretary Jenkins mentioned. And then, but priority and focus certainly has changed. And I think in that effort, you've seen an uplift of SOCOM teammates to SOC North, Special Operations Command North, working with General Guillou and NORTHCOM in order to put together plans, assessments, and various other documents and opportunities that are required by the SecDef and by the department.
Well, the 2% of the defense budget and how much you're called on has been addressed a lot, so I'll skip over that other than say this. I think you'll see the members of this subcommittee working to make sure that that is addressed, and I do think that the new secretary will look favorably upon that. And so you talked a little bit about intelligence, and you've talked a little bit about drones and how drone warfare in Ukraine has changed really the face of war. How are you working with the outside industry to develop how we're going to protect ourselves from drones?
I can just say, just briefly, then talk to the details of just to reassure or validate what you said, sir. I hosted a partner leader in my office a few weeks ago that's over there, and he reinforced that if you think you're at the cutting edge of battle and you haven't been to Ukraine, then you're wrong. And so we are actively taking the lessons that we learned there that require us to innovate daily, if not hourly, to adapt and build solutions on the spot that can be employed the next day instead of weeks and months down the road. We are definitely taking those lessons and applying them to Indo-PACOM and elsewhere. But in terms of, do you want to talk to the details of that? Thank you.
Representative, I think the heart of your question, when we look at Ukraine, I think we come away with what I'd call a strategic lesson, symmetry versus asymmetry. When I think about symmetry, that's the things that all nations have that are military fighting nations for their worst day: artillery, aircraft carriers, bombers, fighters, and they need it. Asymmetry, I think, is where, in this conflict, it's showing itself as 10x, 100x helpful to a cost imposition. And I think when we look at that, certainly through the lens of Special Operations Command, and put it out figuratively in a ledger, symmetry versus asymmetry, our sense is the asymmetry side of the house is not where we need to be. In many ways, it's probably missing. Drones of any kind, AI, autonomy, additive manufacturing. To your point, that is now the purview in many of those of the commercial and the private sector. We are absolutely involved with them in many, many different ways. Personally going out and meeting them, listening to the things they're seeing, providing some of our observations and lesson learned from Ukraine so that those things can be blended. We have tech pods, 2 or 3 folks that are in New York, Boston corridor, Austin, Texas, Silicon Valley, and we have all kind of ways for folks to come see us at SOCOM to talk to us about that, because we know that we've got to get busy and changing that ledger. We got to start filling that thing in with asymmetric anything. Hundreds of thousands of air uncrewed systems, maritime surface, subsurface, and I would just offer as I end this, that also takes money. And I think as we think modernization, that's one of the things that we're really talking about here. We're transferring risk into modernization and deterrence, and that risk, in my mind, is winning in the future. I think that's the challenge right now, and that will be part of winning, those uncrewed systems and AI and certainly autonomy.
Well, I'm glad the leash is off, and I hope that you get some money to get the equipment that you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Cisneros.